Nihilism, the philosophy of nothingness, a thought experiment. Look at that city. Billions of lives, countless stories, struggles, and triumphs. Now, I want you to consider a single, terrifying question. What if none of it matters? What if every value you hold, every belief you cherish, every goal you strive for, is ultimately baseless? What if there is no deeper meaning, no cosmic purpose, and the very idea of truth is an illusion? This isn't just a depressing thought for a rainy day. This is nihilism. And it's not just an idea. The philosopher Friedrich Nietzsche warned it was a tidal wave that would consume the 20th century and beyond. He called it the greatest crisis in human history. Today, we're going to explore the abyss. We'll trace its origins, hear its most powerful arguments, and see how its shadow falls across our world today. Strap in. The birth of nothing. The word itself comes from the Latin nihil, nothing. It means that which does not exist. It's in the word annihilate, to bring to nothing. But it entered popular culture in Ivan Turgenev's 1862 novel Fathers and Sons. He used nihilism to describe the creed of his character Bazarov, who preached a creed of total negation. Around the same time, in Russia, it became a revolutionary movement. The anarchist Mikhail Bakunin wrote a line that would become infamous. The passion for destruction is also a creative passion. This wasn't just philosophy. It was a call to tear down the state, the church, the family, all existing structures. But the philosophical roots go back even further, to the ancient skeptics. They denied the possibility of absolute certainty. As the orator Demosthenes observed way back in 300 BC, what he wished to believe, that is what each man believes. Sound familiar? This is the seed of what we now call epistemological nihilism, the denial that we can ever truly know anything. Friedrich Nietzsche and the Coming Storm. If there's one name tied to nihilism, it's Friedrich Nietzsche. For Nietzsche, nihilism wasn't a philosophy to be adopted. It was a disease that would inevitably infect Western civilization. He saw it as the logical conclusion of the death of God, the collapse of religious and moral foundations. He argued that under nihilism's withering scrutiny, the highest values devalue themselves. The aim is lacking, and why finds no answer. Think about that. Why be honest? Why be kind? Why do anything? Nihilism, for Nietzsche, pulls the rug out from under everything. He didn't just say we'd believe everything deserves to perish. He said the true nihilist is one who actually puts one's shoulder to the plow. One destroys. His prediction was apocalyptic. He wrote, "What I relate is the history of the next 2 centuries. I describe what is coming, the advent of nihilism. Our whole European culture has been moving as toward a catastrophe." He believed we were headed for the greatest crisis humanity had ever faced. A total collapse of meaning. Existential nihilism, life without meaning. In the 20th century, this crisis hit home in the form of existential nihilism, the belief that life has no intrinsic meaning or value. This is probably the version we think of today. We see it centuries ago in Shakespeare's Macbeth, when a broken Macbeth describes life as a tale told by an idiot, full of sound and fury, signifying nothing. But it was the existentialists in the 1940s and 50s, like Jean-Paul Sartre and Albert Camus, who really grappled with this. Sartre said, "Existence precedes essence. There's no preordained human nature or purpose. We are thrown into the world, free and alone." Camus used the myth of Sisyphus, the man doomed to push a boulder up a hill for eternity, as a metaphor for our existence. It's absurd. Our search for meaning in a silent, indifferent universe is absurd. So how do we cope? Camus' characters often face this horror. In The Stranger, Meursault only grasps the value of life moments before his execution. In The Plague, characters fight a futile battle against an indifferent evil. The existentialists said we must create our own meaning through passionate commitment, even if that commitment is itself ultimately meaningless. It was a desperate, brave answer to a terrifying problem. The postmodern twist. Cheerful nihilism. So what happened? Did we fall into the abyss? By the end of the 20th century, something shifted. The existential angst gave way to a shrug. This is the world of postmodern anti-foundationalism. Thinkers like Jean-François Lyotard defined this era as an incredulity toward meta-narratives. We stopped believing in the big stories, religion, progress, science, that used to give everything meaning. The critic Jacques Derrida argued that absolutes are just fictional forms, and the American philosopher Richard Rorty flatly stated that nothing grounds our practices, nothing legitimizes them, nothing shows them to be in touch with the way things are. The shocking result? Cheerful nihilism. The crisis of meaning is no longer a crisis. It's just the background noise of life. It's the source of our whatever culture. If nothing is true, then everything is just a matter of perspective or preference. But is this progress? Scholar Karen Carr, in The Banalization of Nihilism, warns that this cheerful acceptance is dangerous. If no ideas are binding, then the only thing that determines which ideas win is raw power. It brings us right back to Nietzsche's final point, that all interpretations are ultimately a manifestation of the will to power. Conclusion. Working through the nothing, so where does that leave us? It's been over a century since Nietzsche's warning. We see nihilism's fingerprints everywhere, in our art, our politics, and our personal anxieties. But here's the crucial part that often gets missed. Nietzsche didn't think nihilism was the end. He saw it as a necessary, if terrifying, crisis, a clearing of the deck. He believed that if we were strong enough to survive the destruction of all old values, humanity could, and I quote, eventually work through nihilism. He believed that on the other side of nothingness, we might just discover who we truly are and what we're truly capable of. The question he left us with is the one we still face today. Do we have the strength to master this crisis? To build meaning in a universe that offers none? It's the most difficult challenge we can undertake, and the answer is entirely, terrifyingly, up to us. What do you think? Is creating our own meaning enough? Or is the void the final truth? Let's have a respectful discussion in the comments below. If you enjoyed this deep dive into the void, hit that like button and subscribe for more philosophical explorations. Thanks for watching.